little pessimistic about, statewide races. Rick Scott has all of that money, but Debbie is really fantastic, and Trump is melting down. So there's a chance. There's a chance to really begin the process of turning Florida around, and that really begins with the youth. So I'm going to turn it over first to Asher, who Shar and I met at the last DEC meeting, sitting a row in front of us. He liked the newsletter that we publish, and he asked if he could speak at a meeting, and I said, "Geez, of course. This is exactly what we want." So all I'll say about him, other than that, is that he will be. Shar asked him earlier when he's headed back to college. It's next week. So he will be graduating next year, and he's already heavily involved in politicking. So take it away, Asher.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. And just thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you guys today. It's really an honor to speak to your group because, I think this is what it's about. This is about organizing. This is about organizing to win, and we're doing great. So I'm the policy advisor for Thomas Witkopf's campaign. If you don't know, Thomas, he's a great guy. He's 25 years old, the youngest Democrat running for Congress, and he is the guy that's going to beat Brian Mast. And I think nowhere was that clearer to me than at an event we went to yesterday, where we witnessed Brian Mast literally trying to buy votes. That's how desperate this guy is. He's going around trying to buy votes, pay people off. So what he did is he went to a gas station near here, and he said the first 150 people that show up at the gas station can get gas for $1 a gallon. And then, of course, he was talking to everyone saying, if only it wasn't for President Biden, gas would be $1 a gallon. The world would be great. Of course, that's not true. Gas hasn't been $1 a gallon since the 70s, long before I was here. So I don't know where they get these ideas from, but I do know where they get their money from. And that's the Koch brothers. This event that Brian Mast put on was financed for Americans for Prosperity, the Koch brothers group. So literally, they're taking their oil money and they're using it to try to infiltrate our politics and buy off voters. And so that's really unfortunate. And it is what we're up against this election. So now that we know what we're up against, this guy, Brian Mast and his friends, let's talk about Thomas Witkopf, because to be honest with you, it has been the, best time of my life working for his campaign. And he is just such a great candidate. I think, one of our big issues this election, and it's only becoming a bigger issue as we see the news in recent days, is trying to protect our waterways and stop the rampant development that is destroying our state. As you guys probably know, there was a meeting that's been announced for Tuesday at 3 p.m. To talk about the Jonathan Dickinson State Park and how we cannot allow the state park to be turned into another golf course. Thomas is going to be at that meeting, and that is a really big deal for us. I think it's just become more and more clear that our state government has been taken over by people like Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, because, if Trump was running this place, what would he want to do? He would want to turn the entire state into one big golf course. And that's what we're seeing. He wants to destroy our environment. He wants to develop all of it and, destroy everything that makes Florida, Florida. So it's really unfortunate. I think it would be awful for our waterways. if we see a golf course and all the fertilizer runoff that's going to cause going right into Jonathan Dickinson State Park. And it's a real problem that we're going to have to stand up against. I also think it's very intentional the state government put all of the meetings for people to have public commentary against the drive to develop Jonathan Dickinson at the same time at 3 p.m. on Tuesday. And so what that means is that, Debbie Murkowski-Powell, who, as you guys know, is running for the Senate seat, she's going to be giving a press conference with Thomas Witkopf at Jonathan Dickinson State Park. But the reality is, because all of the meetings are at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, we can't, organize around this across our state. And they're all, pushing them in at the very same time. So it's really, I think, a big drive by the state government to try to get this development through without consulting voters, without, talking to us about what our natural environment means to us, and just trying to push it through at all costs. The other thing that, is really important to our campaign is defending our democracy. I'll say that our campaign started when Jamie Raskin had a conversation with Thomas Witkopf. And Jamie Raskin said to Thomas, Thomas said to Jamie Raskin, what can I do to get involved? What can I do to help us politically and make sure that things like January 6th don't happen again? And Jamie said the answer is very simple. You can run for office. I mean, that is what we need to do. That is how we're going to defend our democracy. That is how we're going to stop these insurrectionists like Brian Mast. And that's exactly what we're doing. I'll say too that big issue that we're focusing on is home insurance. Can anyone raise their hands if their home insurance has gone up in the last few years? A little bit. Yeah, I feel like everyone's has. And the fact is that, since Brian Mast took office, that was like, a little over 6 years ago, home insurance has gone up by 300%. And the Republicans are doing absolutely nothing about it. Back in 2007, Ron Klein and Tim Mahoney introduced a bill in Congress that passed through the House, the Homeowners Defense Act, which would have tackled homeowner insurance. It would have, nationalized some of that risk and brought down rates dramatically. And they passed the bill through the House, and then it failed in the Republican-controlled Senate. So, what's new? Every time you have a good idea, it's going to die in the Senate. But we're trying to focus on that. I'll say that the day that, that Thomas takes office, his priority is reintroducing that bill in Congress and making sure that we can bring down home insurance. And then finally, of course, we're very supportive of Amendment 3 and Amendment 4. It's important to get the government out of our doctors' offices to make sure that we can overturn that 6-week abortion ban in Florida. And I think it's honestly really sad that that's going to be what drives turnout up in this election, because, that's what it takes to make people realize just how radical and awful our state government is, and that now is the time to take action. So that's our campaign. I'll say I'm going to put a website and our Act Blue link. I don't like Act Blue either, but putting it anyway in the comments here. So, if we're going to fight the Koch brothers, we need a little help to win this election. I'll also say that if you guys are interested in volunteering or coming to some of our events, that would be incredible too. And if you want to ask me any questions about the campaign and some of the issues that we're facing, I love policy. I could talk for hours. So please just ask away.
Let me say that we, Asher kindly, or actually the campaign agreed to let us reprint an article that Tom had written in Daily Kos, a wonderful article. Florida is in play. I'm just finishing up the issue, but it has a link to Act Blue at the end, and for the hard copy, I put a QR code so people can just point their cell phones at it and contribute in that way. It sounds, it sounds like it's a big hurdle, but the way to go after the Republicans is on these bread and butter issues. I mean, Mast is saying that about gas. Well, what about insurance?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think Mast is just throwing political stunts. I mean, is buying gas for 150 voters really going to solve the affordability crisis? I mean, why isn't he actually trying to help Florida homeowners and help us deal with inflation instead of just doing these stunts with the Koch brothers?
Yeah. June, did you have something? Hi.
No, I was just changing lights. I'm sorry, I'm late.
Oh, no.
I have something.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Asher, are you going to be able to stay involved at all when you're away at school?
You said stay in golf at all?
No, stay involved.
Oh, stay involved. I was like,
Yeah.
Wow, we
Yeah.
really got back to that. No, of course I will.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna
Jessica made him he's a precinct leader.
Yes, I'm a precinct leader. I'm writing articles for Thomas. We actually have an article that's about to go out in Haaretz, and also another one in the Daily Kos. And writing some social media posts for him as well. And I'm going to keep working on this campaign. So I think we can really win this. And then if he wins, I'll be with him going to DC. So that'll be the best part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to send more to the Delray Democrat.
Yes, absolutely. No, we'll print or reprint. Daily Kos has a much bigger circulation than we do, but we will probably reach people that don't read the Daily Kos. So
and reach people down here, the real voters that are going to make a difference in this election.
Yeah, one of the things that you said about it being a shame that this is what focuses people, Amendment 3 and Amendment 4. And I was struck by Fred Trump, or Fritz, Donald Trump's nephew, when he complained, he has a disabled son, and he said that Trump had said back in 2016, why don't they just send him away somewhere and just get rid of him? Trump doesn't like people that are, bodies that are shot up or anything that is unattractive. And he said that recently he repeated that comment to his nephew. And he said, back in 2016, he was talking about other people. Now he was talking about my family. Yeah. I remember thinking, what is wrong with you? I mean, I guess his nephew is a Trump. So, but that if it doesn't affect them immediately, people just, don't pay attention or aren't, it doesn't affect them. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. I guess the other thing that I would mention on that is that Brian Mast is the leader of Veterans for Trump. And, yesterday he wrote this letter about Governor Walz's military service. And I just want to read a quote from that letter because I think it was a little egregious what he had to say. He said, quote, "The honor of wearing the uniform is earned through dedication, bravery, and an unwavering sense of duty. You," and referring to Walz, "have displayed none of these characteristics as you have lied your way through a political career launched on the foundation of a title you did not earn and combat deployments you did not take part in." And I mean, I just think it's incredible that Brian Mast can go and say these things about Tim Walz when even when President Trump calls veterans suckers and losers, Brian Mast says nothing and stands right beside him. And even when President Trump, tries to do a coup to overturn our lawful election, Brian Mast just stands right beside him and does nothing. And he was one of the members of Congress that voted to overturn the 2020 election. So I have to say, I have a lot of respect for Brian Mast's service in Afghanistan, and I think he really did great service for our country. But being a member of Congress requires service every day. It requires defending your oath of office and the Constitution every day. And that's maybe not what Brian Mast has been doing. So the other thing we're going to be doing is we have an event at 3 p.m. next Wednesday at the Memorial Park in Stort. I know that's a bit far north for people in Delray, but we will be having this event in Stort, and we're going to be talking with veterans there about President Trump and about Brian Mast, and really trying to say that this letter that he wrote about Tim Walz is not okay, and it's not what the voters in his district believe in.
Yeah, the whole thing is disgusting. And when it first came up, it wasn't getting legs. It got slapped down. A Wall Street Journal had an op-ed, either an op-ed or an editorial that said it was a bullshit claim. It went on, and because it's the Wall Street Journal, to say that John Kerry was not swift voted. The charges there were real, but these are bullshit charges. So,
yeah, they really are.
That carries some weight, because the person that's saying it is temperamentally and politically predisposed to go along with it, and they didn't. But now they're back again. I saw today 50 people signed, but I don't think it's gonna, I don't think it's gonna make a huge difference.
No, I don't think it will either. I think voters are smarter than that.
Yeah. So, does anyone else have any questions, or we can save them until the end after Trevor goes?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Tom Jennings, Mike.
Sorry?
Tom Jennings.
Hey, John.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, there you are. Oh, okay. Go right ahead, Tom. Yeah, you came in as Ellen Baker.
Good. Well,
Ellen's in the corner.
just a point that's
Yeah. Hi, Ellen.
very aggravating is that Donald Trump is a draft dodger.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And have you seen any Democratic Party ads on that? The answer is no. Right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that in a way, I was just thinking today, when the press was trying to start a food fight over Josh Shapiro, and the campaign handled that, and Shapiro handled that, and Walz handled that so beautifully, but when that was going on, I just lost my train of thought. One article said that one of the reasons that she didn't choose him was he would outshine her, which I think is bullshit, but the other reason was that she didn't really temperamentally, they didn't click. And I was thinking that what they are doing in this campaign, this politics of joy, okay, Tim Walz, the criticisms when he calls Trump and Vance just weird, it's not the same as Trump Vance talking about cat ladies, or Trump, attacking Kamala's intelligence or her appearance. That comes across as nasty, and there's this really great balance that they seem to have, Kamala and Tim, to represent, this kind of joyful warriors, and they can be critical. I mean, the way to do it is with jokes, and not these frontal attacks. So I think they're waiting to see what happens with whether this really has any legs before they come back and go at even address the issue. It's kind of like the way Trump responded to Walz. First he said he's a whack job, like a kid in a sandbox saying no, it's you, and that it doesn't. I don't know.
May I say something in response to that? Hi.
Helen's had her hand up though for a while.
No, I'm sorry, I'm late. This reminds me of what happened to Senator Richard Blumenthal. I'm from Connecticut, and I know him well. And what happened was he was in the service, but he was not overseas in combat. And one day he used the term, when we were in Vietnam, instead, meaning, the general we, not including himself specifically, or the Queen's we should say. And of course, the other side attacked him. It's exactly like what's going on now with Tim Walz. And Michael said, maybe it won't have legs. Unfortunately, with Richard, it did. It wouldn't go away. So what we did, and I had part in it, setting up a press conference where we got Marines to stand behind, not in uniform. These were people out of the service, but Marines who stood behind him. I had two friends whose dads were in the Marines, so we yanked them out of their chairs and put them in. But what finally helped, it didn't go away for a very long time, but what finally helped was having service people respond on his behalf. So that's something that maybe you guys can pass along. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're going to be trying to do in store.
Thank you. Okay. It's the only way, because otherwise they won't hear. I mean, they know the truth, and they know what these men meant, but the truth means nothing to these people. So you have to get at them emotionally through other service people.
Yeah, I mean, I think Thomas really is seeing himself as, partly responsible for defending Walz here, because Brian Mast was the first name on that letter, and he really is the member of Congress that is leading that attack against Governor Walz. So it's about bringing it back to the district and showing that what Brian Mast is doing to try to appease President Trump and become Secretary of Veterans Affairs is not something that represents our district and our voters.
Excellent.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Great response.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, Ellen's had her hand up for a while.
Okay, Ellen? Ellen?
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I was at a union meeting, but I don't know if
You just muted yourself.
Has Thomas's campaign looked at any of the numbers? Because MAGA Meg won, and like everybody's talking about all these awful things, but the voters they believe all of that, and we really need to focus rather than kind of opine about why they believe the crazy stuff they believe. They go to the polls and they vote, and we don't. And so I'm concerned that the messaging or the worrying about what they're saying, because it's, you know, to us, it's crazy, but to them, they believe it. I mean, Meg Weinberger, who's going to run against Rochelle Litt with a ton of money, brought horses to one of the polling places. She had MAGA Meg on the back of her shirt. She had, you know, literature with AI, you know, Trump next to her. I mean, this kind of stuff is, and this is the north end of the county, which is, you know, obviously different than the South County area. But my concern is that we look at how we can get more voters out, because that's how we're going to win. And how, and what does it look like? What are the takeaways from Tuesday? Thanks.
Yeah, so Ellen, I would completely agree with you there. And I'll say that one model for our campaign is Tom Keene's campaign. He recently won a seat in the state house down in Miami that hadn't been in Democratic hands for over 35 years. And he won that campaign more than anything by focusing on home insurance and the fact that Republicans are doing nothing to bring down the price of home insurance. So I think, you know, in our broad messaging to, you know, moderate and, you know, voters in the county that might not be convinced to vote at this point, it's really going to be focused around home insurance. And then, of course, we're going to benefit from all the campaigning that people supporting Amendment 3 and Amendment 4 are doing. So I agree with you that, you know, our Trump and, you know, respond to the headlines with Governor Walz focused like media blitz is not really the broad campaign to win this district. And I'll say that, you know, that is more about one, getting the intention of the DNC and DCCC to try to position Thomas as the guy that is taking on this fight on behalf of the governor, and also, of course, to energize Democratic voters in the county. So, I mean, that's more of like a 90 days before the election kind of exercise rather than something that we're really going to be using to try to convince those voters that are on the line this election.
Okay, just to clarify on Tom Keene, he's from the Orlando area, and that was a one-off. He is trailing right now. He's one of the targeted races. He may not be able to return to the Florida House, but that was a special election. So all of Florida was focused on that. It was kind of like for some of us older people, Margaret Good, we all campaigned and helped her when she got elected on the West Coast. So just be careful with the vote. I mean, I don't know what your numbers are up there. You know, obviously I live in your district. I would love to have a Democrat. You know, I feel like it's Brian Mast is like almost impossible to reckon with, but you know, I wish you guys all the luck, but you know, we need to have a big presence at the polls. We need to really get out and knock doors because the Republicans came out and we did.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Ellen, we're doing all of the door knocking we can and really trying to get Thomas out in public. Of course, we need to do more of that. But I guess I would ask, what issue do you think we should be focusing on? You know, as a voter up there and someone who's really focused on, you know, the pulse. What do you think gets those uncommitted voters out there?
Well, I mean, I'm old fashioned. I worked for a congressman. My dad worked for a congressman. I've knocked on doors since I was little. You know, relationships are what it's all about. I think, you know, I tuned in tonight because I want to see, I'm running myself and I want to see what you young people, so to speak, even though I'm with young people all day and in my high school, I want to see what you guys think is going to get people out. I haven't seen any statistics on whether young people voted in the primary. I sure hope they did. From my observation, I did not see a lot of young people volunteering at the polls, and I didn't see a lot of young people voting at the polls. And I was there during early voting as well as all day election day. So, you know, that's kind of why I tuned in. I wanted to see what kind of secrets you guys had, but you know, history says that the best way to get a vote is knock a door.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
All right, why don't we move on to Trevor and hold any additional questions to the end because we do have, I know people want to go back or go start watching the convention. The the
Yeah,
prime
so
time is still a ways away, but Trevor, I think everybody probably knows Trevor. He's the president of the Young Dems. He also works for Congresswoman Lois Frankel. And he he's a guy that's doing it for the congressman and also getting young people involved. So, Trevor.
yeah, I appreciate the time, Michael, and good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's excited for the convention since I've been watching pretty much every night here. So it's pretty exciting to see a lot of great young, honestly, not even young, just pretty much across the spectrum. We have a bunch of talent everywhere. I think over the last few years here with Trump being in office, it really galvanized a lot of Democrats to get out there. So as a result of that, we see a lot of great politicians who may never have had the opportunity to get up there if we weren't so organized and engaged. Even talking about Maxwell Frost that we talked to on the Boynton Beach tomb, like it's hard to imagine him getting involved if it wasn't for the circumstances of what happened. So yeah, like Michael said, my name is Trevor Fleming. I am the president of the Young Dems here in Palm Beach County. I also do work for a daytime job with Congresswoman Frankel. It's a real blessing because Congresswoman Frankel really kind of aligns with a lot of my ideology anyway. So it's just really lucky for me to be able to work for her on a day in, day out basis, trying to work with the community to kind of make our district a little bit better. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Young Dems, especially. We definitely had a lower period of membership, but I think a lot of engagement is coming back now because of the circumstances of what we find ourselves in. About a month ago, a little bit over, if everyone remembers that long ago, we were still a little bit, to say the least, pessimistic about our opportunities to do anything. So now with the change of the ticket, I think that voters across the nation are going to be so much more engaged and more energized because, quite frankly, the polling was pretty clear. They wanted someone other than Joe Biden and Trump, full stop, period. That's just what it was. As a result of that, we literally entered someone else in there and we see what the difference is that could be had overnight just from something like that. So here in the county, I really want our group really to be focused on some races here that could really make the difference as far as November comes. So of them, what we're going to be planning to do this weekend, beginning with is a Kamala Harris phone bank at the DEC. Really have to see if the DEC is going to actually be able to hold all of us. And I think it's going to be a lot of people there, especially after this convention speech. It's going to feel really in tune to want to get out there and do something. After that, we're going to try to focus on some of the races in our area that we think that a little bit extra help could get them over the line. And I just want to also point out that the amendments is something that's super important to me. And I think young people in general, both of them, the cannabis amendment and the abortion amendment. So I really want to be able to try to make sure that we're focusing on, especially the abortion amendment. For some other reason in my mind, as far as political goes, I feel like the cannabis amendment, that's just going to be something that people feel one way or the other about. But the abortion amendment is something that really deeply concerns me. This is one of our few opportunities to be able to engrave this right to all Floridians forever, something that DeSantis cannot take away from us very easily. The issue is that obviously in Florida, amendments take 60%. I don't know if everyone's read recently these last few days, but they will be adding on the financial impact statement onto the Amendment 4. What that means is that they're going to basically allege when we go in there to vote that somehow, which is completely made up garbage, malarkey, as Biden would say, that Medicaid would somehow be on the hook for potentially for paying for some abortions. Basically saying that, this abortion amendment will actually be at cost to taxpayers. Now, that might not convince many of us on here that have lived life and understand that the government does not fund abortions because it's literally not allowed in the federal constitution. And in the members of Congress consistently pass the Hyde Amendment to make sure that federal funds is not going to go to this. Therefore, the state run by a Republican legislature, this was never going to be a concern. So we're really have to get out there to educate voters about that impact fee nonetheless, on top of the Amendment 4 itself, because I have a fear that some voters will look at that who are kind of on the fence. Last poll showed that at least almost like 20% of voters are still undecided about how they're going to vote in November on this issue. If somehow this financial impact statement makes such a big deal to them, this could potentially sink that amendment. So just want to make sure not only our young Dems, but all Dems in this county, in the state, understand that this could be a really hands-on deck moment for us, where we really need to help push that over. And just basically going into kind of the races that I'm pretty excited about as far as just the county local area. I think Joel Flores is someone that we really need to work as a community to see that he gets elected. I don't live in this district, but I know that that we need as a county to come together to work on that, because the Republican controlled county commission, while not a huge issue this cycle, if we let them have that majority for the next few years, taxes could change. The housing plan that we passed, that we all voted on, will be under their control to implement, and I simply don't trust them. So Joel Flores running against Michael Barnett is a top race. I really feel like that's a very gettable seat for us, and I think we should all work together to make sure that's gettable. The Rachel Litt race, as was saying earlier with Meg Weinberger, she is now the official nominee. Rachel Litt is someone who has worked in the Gardens as she was a vice mayor, I believe. And she has been running a campaign for at least the last year here to make sure that she's able to get across the finish line so we could flip that seat back to blue. I think as we move into November, now that it's finally over, the Deborah Kendrick Destiny Sutton race is over now. So Deborah Kendrick's a candidate. That's a race that I think a lot of us would assume is in her bag, but I think we're going to have to really work together with her to make sure she gets over the finish line, because even David Silver has only finished 3 points better than Daniel Zapata, who will be her opponent again. So he has that name ID. He has been in front of the voters already. So that's going to be a major race that we really need to focus on to make sure we retain that seat and don't lose that. And of course, with Thomas Witkopf facing off with Brian Mast, I think that's also important to be able to try to get in there and just, if nothing else, make sure that people know there's an alternative option in the Port St. Lucie, Martin County area, that we do not need to accept Brian Mast's lack of responsibility as far as it being a representative for them in that area, and showing that Democrats give an alternative vision. So I didn't want to go too long, but those are races, and obviously it goes without being said that I will also be working on the Congresswoman Frankel's campaign, because for obvious reasons, but also because she's such a strong supporter for women's rights, and for basically bodily autonomy and a bunch of things as far as democratic values go. She is fully in line. I don't need to tell you guys about Lois Frankel. So those are my vision for how I'll be planning out this next few months here as we run up to election time. And I also just want to put it out there to anyone on the call that has children, grandchildren that would be interested in joining us. We could always use more support, whether it be with volunteering or financial, with getting donations, so we'd be able to hold these events to be able to drive youth turnout. So really appreciate you guys' time. We're really excited for Kamala Harris, who I didn't even really get into, but we're very excited for her. She really is. Beforehand, I think before she even got to this point in her career, I think the vice presidency really set her up, that she was able to, I don't know how to put it into words, but I think she's even a better candidate than she's ever been before. She's a better politician than she's ever been before. So it's going to be keen on us being able to get her across the finish line and trying to put Florida in play, because it is not out of reach. Debbie McCarroll-Powell could flip this seat. So we all need to work together to see all these people get into office. So appreciate you guys' time. Just wanted to keep it brief, but open to any questions. And then if you don't mind, I'm going to go eat before the convention, if that's okay.
Couldn't agree more about Kamala. Ezra Klein, who's a great writer in the New York Times, I guess when all of this was happening, and I kept saying, quoting Clyburn, if not Biden, then Harris. And Biden was looking at the same polling numbers, and at that time, Biden was running better against Trump than Harris. And then all of a sudden he wasn't, and what I remembered of Harris was the 2020 campaign, where she blew right ahead at the beginning and then just faded right out. And I was supporting Bernie, and if Bernie wasn't in it, Warren. But what Klein said is that when she ran in 2020, she was trying to distinguish herself from a bunch of people that had pretty similar positions, and that if she got the nod, that all she had to distinguish herself from was Donald Trump. That's a lot easier, and so I had some hope, and then I was totally blown away by her first day at Biden headquarters with that, just great laugh, beautiful smile, all of the things that Trump makes fun of actually are tremendous assets. And I think you're right that while the press was knocking her for 3 years on and writing stories about her staff, discontent in her staff and all of that, it was just the so-called liberal media trying to prove to people that they weren't really liberal. And they didn't really have to do that because we kind of know that already.
If I may add too, honestly, I think what's really working for Kamala Harris this go round, comparatively to the primary, she was having to, as you said, she was running in a huge field of liberals, anywhere from liberal to moderate. It was a huge field. I think she felt the need to move left on some issues and try to kind of make the case for herself as the Democratic nominee. You're trying to run to appease their platform. But now at this point, why I think we're seeing such a marketable difference in her is because I think she's running exactly as who she is. She's a prosecutor. This is simply what she did. So she's able to be comfortable in her own skin now. It's not like she's trying to pretend to be anything anymore for anybody. She's just doing what she has always done. So the comfortability to be able to just be that prosecutor, especially in a perfect contrast with a convicted felon, however you feel about him, however your politics are, he is a convicted felon. So the fact is, she is running in the perfect scenario for her personality and who she is. It's a perfect story. It writes itself. And I think the press is given the easiest job with having to do this prosecutor versus felon story.
Right.
Just my opinion.
Yeah. And of course, what I said about the so-called liberal media, the reporters do tend to be liberal. Their bosses, the editors and the owners of the papers aren't that liberal. But now, they really, really, really don't like Donald Trump. And they may have done us all a favor by pushing Biden out of the race. So that, there's only one old guy in the race, and the whole race changes. And what I'm looking forward to, and Trump is helping them, is them focusing on his sanity, because, he's been crazy for years. And he's got a father with died of Alzheimer's, and now his nephew was saying that the way Trump is acting reminds him of the way his grandfather used to act. And so the media can sell papers and attract eyeballs with these stories of Trump being crazy, and it's not going to affect his voters because they're already members of a cult or crazy themselves. But I have to believe that the people in the middle, are going to start having second thoughts about if they want someone like that back in the Oval Office. And of course, the Democrats, the convention has been just so thrilling watching. It's one home run after another with these speakers. So actually, I'm rambling on when people probably want to go and watch speakers. So why don't we try to wrap up with any questions. Trevor and Asher, thank you both so much. I mean, you really give me a lot of hope, you know, that your generation is going to be the one that turns things around, and not to knock mine. I mean, we did the marches, we ended the Vietnam War, the civil rights, all of that, but we were not followed by what was the generation that came next? The not Gen X. Maybe it was whoever they were. They came to age under Reagan, and they, you know, they had their brains damaged by that. So
I have something I'd like to say. First of all, thank you both. I think you are incredible models for everyone of every age. And as a former English teacher, I'm so thrilled at how articulate you are. I can't. But as far as, you know, Michael's thanking you for picking up the baton, the rest of us better thank Michael and people like him. He works 24/7, as I can see it, to do what you're doing, you know, in different ways. And if we had more like him, I don't even think we'd be in this position. So for him to look at you guys for the future, but we better also look to Michael as someone who sets a really high standard for the rest of us. We can learn a lot. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, June. So, all right.
I concur.
All right.
Go Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
No, well, you know, we're all doing it. We really are. And that's what's so great about it, you know, and the level of enthusiasm, the calls, the emails I'm getting, you know, what can I do? I think Roger Messenger's not on here anymore, but he's a retired FAU professor, and he just in the chats. Well, I think he sent that to everybody, the message. Yeah. You know, what can I do? And we've got new phone banks coming out. The office, as Trevor said, they're probably not going to fit the people that come on Saturday. So thank everybody. Thank you all for coming. And
good night.
Solidarity. I'm going to. David, you want to do the honors of shutting us down, or?
David, before you do, I just wanted to say, Audrey.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'll get with you tomorrow or Saturday about canvassing and stuff. I've got more information, so I'll let you know.
Okay, great. Am I muted? No.
No, we heard that.
Thank you, Shar. I hope you got my check.
I did. I was going to tell you that next.
All right.
Great meeting.
Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Trevor. We got to get
Thank you,
together
Ezra,
with
Trevor.
the Young Dems to have a joint meeting one of these days.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
right now, I'll start
Good night, you guys. Have fun with
Good
the
night.
convention.
Michael,
right.
you have to
Go
do
watch
it.
the
You're the
convention.
host. You have to do it, Michael. You're the host. You have to count down. Oh, 2:30 at West Palm.
What is 2:30? Oh, 2:30.
Oh, picking you up.
Yeah, from the airport. I already.
Hey, Michael.
So, where am I? Oh, Ethan. Hi. Yeah.
Hey,
Under the
I'm so
lead.
sorry. I'm so sorry I couldn't join earlier. I think we might have lost some people already, but I just wanted to say also with the DEC, I'm the youth coordinating. I'm doing the youth coordinating for that. And one of the things that we're looking to do is to find high schoolers who might be interested. So if you know anybody who is in touch with a teacher who might be friendly at a high school, we can't go right to the students, but a teacher who's at the high school,
Well, Ellen,
let me know.
Ellen's gone. Ellen Baker is a teacher at a high
Angela
school.
Burns. She's got a lot of contacts in school.
Yeah.
Okay, I can reach out to them. And then if you do know students who are interested, if you happen to hear about high school students, we can definitely point them to the high school Democrats, the Florida High School Democrats, and they can be at-large members until they establish a club at their school.
Great. All
Just
right.
couple more avenues.
Okay.
Sorry I
Thank
couldn't
you,
join
Ethan.
sooner.
And Ethan,
Ethan.
we're going to we'll have the video posted, and you might enjoy
Great.
it. And Asher and Trevor were just super. So
I'm not surprised to hear it. I will absolutely check it out and catch up.
great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for
Take care.
having this.
Good night.
Good luck at school, Asher.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Good night.
Shutting down. And
Yeah.
for all.
Hi,
Here we
four,
go.